Welcome to Behind the Smile, where every smile tells a story. All right, so we've all heard the saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. But the one thing people don't tell you is how to go about making that lemonade. And so here, I'm a firm believer that everybody has a story.
Right.
Like the title of the podcast is Behind the Smile. So every smile tells a story, and every story, is there's a story behind every smile. And so my next guest is somebody who I really do admire and respect. Been knowing him for a while. Real cool cat, if I must say myself.
Like,
Welcome to Behind the Smile, my man, Mr. Robert Ivy. Robert, why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
how's it going, Deshaun? My name is Robert Ivy, and I'm a kidney transplant recipient.
Yeah, and so, man, it's you wouldn't be able to tell that you've gone through what you've gone through, when people see you, because every time I see you, there's you're wearing a smile just like y'all now, man.
Right,
And like I said, you know did a little research, found out a little bit about your story and things like that, but I wanted to use this platform to give people an opportunity to share their story and to share their experiences, and to possibly touch somebody else that's out there, and so it's I understand that life is hard, life is tough, but if and when you can find the strength to smile, to me that is fuel for other people to keep going, to realize that, hey, yeah, it may be hard, it may be tough, but if they can still find joy, in life, I can too. So Robert, would you take us back to the moment when you were first diagnosed? What did that feel like internally?
well, Deshaun, when I first found out, it was around about 97, 98. Going to the doctor for the gout, and then I ended up getting a call from the doctor saying that I had kidney disease. And I was upset, angry, because the thing about it is, my mom, she was on dialysis for 35 years. And when I grown up, I seen a lot of things going on with her by being on dialysis. So when it hit me, I just couldn't believe it. My family
Mm,
couldn't believe it, and I was just in awe when I found out. Because the thing about it is, she used to get my sister and I checked when we was younger, to make sure that we don't have kidney disease like her.
mm,
But that end up, my sister and I end up with kidney disease, and both of us had a kidney transplant.
mm. Yeah. So what kept you from, like, sometimes when things get hard, the easiest thing for us to do is to give up sometimes. Just throw our hands up and say that, it's not worth it or whatever, I just give up. But what kept you from doing that? What kept you from giving up and willing to press on and move on and get through this?
Well, I got to say God.
Mm,
He kept me. I'm not the one that would just complain if I'm going through something. I try to deal with it myself. My friends may not know, my wife may not know, but it's God. Keep a
yeah.
smile on my face. And when I was diagnosed, it was in the early stage. So I really didn't, as long as I was around people and having fun at work and coming home with my family. And I just feel like everything was gonna be all right at that moment because it was still at the early stage.
Hmm.
And I thought maybe over time, if I eat right or what have you, that it would change, but I was uneducated, even though that I was around kidney disease, a person with on kidney transplant all my life. I was still uneducated about kidney disease.
Yeah. What's I mean, I'm uneducated about it. I know the functions of the kidneys and things like that, but and I was, like I said, did a little research and it said it was something that was, I guess, hereditary, something that could be passed down. Was there at any point uh in the beginning stages of your diagnosis, did you have any I guess any anger, or were you upset, or anything like that? Because a lot of time people say that you're not supposed to be angry with God, and you know what I'm saying, you're not supposed to blame God and all that stuff. But man, here's where I see about it. If I want to know something from God, I'm going to question him. And I think God is big enough to handle whatever feelings, you know what I'm saying, I have. So was there any point did you feel any anger or anything like that?
Well, like I said, at first I did, and like I said, I was going back and forth to the doctor, and they did a biopsy on my kidney, and they said with high blood pressure that caused my kidney disease, but like you said, it's
Mm,
hereditary. As the year went on, like I said, in 98 when I found out, and then I went through over the years, my level started getting higher and higher,
mm,
and around about 2010, that's when they really started talking about putting me on dialysis. And at that moment, that's when the anger really kicked in.
mm,
Because when like I said, over the years, it was just at the top, at the front stage, but it started getting, my creatinine started getting higher and higher, and that's when they started talking about putting me on dialysis. So that's when the anger started building up in me.
yeah,
But
yeah,
through God, I was still able to smile. It wasn't
yeah,
just
yeah. And to me, that's amazing to realize and know that, yeah, I'm going through this, but I can still find the strength to smile. And that leads me to my next question. After the diagnosis, after the talk about dialysis and all of that, and being put on the transplant list, and I read, that you ended up getting a donor. I don't think the first one was a match or something like that,
right.
from what I read.
Right.
But how did getting the diagnosis and going through, all of that change how you saw life, or how you see life now?
Well, like I said, when I when they started talking about putting me on dialysis, and that's really when everything started changing. I was working at the University of Mississippi, custodian, going in at 3 to 11:45. That time was my hardest time because I had 2 buildings I had to clean. So I'm constantly thinking about getting on dialysis. I'm constantly thinking about my kids. Am I gonna be able to play with my kids, or I'm gonna be sick like my mom were all the
Mm,
time? You know what I'm saying? And just by being a man, you know how it feel when you think in your mind that you're not gonna be the same man. Somebody gonna be
yeah,
taking you and maybe taking you to Dallas and dropping you off. So all that was in my mind until I started skipping my doctor's appointment. Until my nurse, she called and she talked to me, and I was so angry till I got mad at them. I said, "Well, my nurse and my doctor," 'cause I said, "They're not trying to help me. They just
mm,
trying to throw me on dialysis." So that where a lot of anger started building up toward them, and I couldn't understand why God chose me. You know,
Mm,
I done been through that as a child, seeing my mom, and then myself, then my sister. So it was weighted heavy on me. Like I said, as a
yeah.
man, I'm looking at I'm not gonna be the same man. I'm gonna be a sick man.
Mm,
Yeah. And I didn't know at the time that when I was doing all this, I was hurting my wife too because she was like, "Okay, Robert, a kidney transplant can be a healing too," because
mm,
it's just like this, son. I found out that God's ways are not our ways,
right.
and what happened was I'm thinking in my mind that God gonna heal my kidney I was born with. And so if you agreed with me, that's who I'm gonna talk to.
Mm,
But if you didn't agree with that, I'm not gonna talk to you about it. And that's what I did to my wife. You need to do what you gotta do by getting on dialysis or getting a transplant.
yeah.
I didn't want neither, you know. And so when I got that first call to go to Jackson, and when they told me that it wasn't a match, I felt like that was confirmation
Mm,
that God gonna heal my kidney I was born with.
yeah.
So, but I found out that His way are not our ways.
Yeah. Now, I see it a lot, and I'm pretty sure you do. That now we're both men of faith. We believe in God. We go to church. We know God is all knowing, all seeing, and but I think sometimes we tend to not understand that God put doctors and nurses and people here for a reason. He's gifted them that way for a reason.
Yes,
And for me to sit here and say that, nah, I ain't gonna worry about it, God gonna heal me, but maybe, what I'm saying, God is working through that doctor or that nurse or whatever.
right,
Because I gotta admit, I've said that same thing, man. I'm not going to the doctor. I'm not, whatever it is, God got it. He gonna fix it, this, and that, or whatever. But it reminds me of the story of the people stranded on the house in the flood. God sent three boats by, and they ended up dying.
yes,
He's like, "Why didn't you help?" And God's like, "I sent three people your way, but you didn't take it." So that what you just said reminds me of that, and I think it's a message to all of us, especially to us as men. I think
yes,
we think we're invincible. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
Sometimes nothing is going to happen for us there's nothing wrong with going to the doctor. There's nothing
right,
wrong with having medicine if you got to have medicine. There's nothing wrong with, whatever is going to be necessary. Because, like you said, we got people, you know, I won't say, well, they need us, but not in the way we think. You know what I'm saying? They need our presence, and if we can do something to what I'm saying, to extend that time is great. I remember when my dad was first diagnosed with cancer and he said the same thing. I'm not doing these treatments, I'm not doing that, this and that, or
right,
whatever. I was like, well, you're gonna have to tell your grandson that there's a way you can beat this, but you're not going to do it. I'm not going to tell him. And I think that kind of changed his mindset with that. And so I appreciate you saying that. Now, were there any other people in your life that you felt comfortable enough to talk to and to share what you felt, like transparently?
Well, the thing about that, Deshaun, uh, many people they may not believe it, but it was certain people that I would tell. But I had church members,
Mm,
I had co-workers. They didn't have a clue.
yeah.
My co-workers, I had some co-workers. Some of them knew it, and a few of them didn't. And when I received my kidney, and they came back to when they came to work, and they were like, "Robert transplant was a success," and they were like, "What you mean transplant?" Because I like to joke and play all the time.
Yeah.
And they said this man walk around the job playing and laughing all the time, but he didn't tell us that he was sick. And my thing is, Deshaun, like I said, went to work at 3 in the morning in them buildings to two buildings to 8:30 till I go on break. And I didn't want to waste that time around friends just talking about what I was going through
Mm,
because I was having fun. That was my happy moment. Just like I remember that Sunday, Reverend Galladay stood me up and a lady prayed for me. And she said,
mm,
somebody gonna get a miracle because he was telling them what I was going through. That nobody in church know what I was going through, but he told them what I was going through, and the lady prayed for me. And I went to work that Monday, got off at 11:45. You try to be in the bed, about 8 or 9.
mhm,
I got to get up about one something. So the phone rang, and they told me to be on my way because you got to have your bag packed. They got to have an answer, and you got to roll. But when I came back to church, a lot of people like, man, we didn't know because you smiled all the time. And another thing why I didn't tell everybody because I know people don't mean any harm when you go through stuff, but they kind of change on you a little bit when they know you're going through something. They start feeling sorry for you. And I was already down, and I didn't need nobody feeling sorry for me. I want them to act the same. So it's a lot of my friends or family I didn't tell, co-workers and church members, I just didn't tell, you know.
yeah. And that's understandable when you made it up in your mind that I'm not going to let this get me down, or I'm not going to let, this situation, just rob me of my opportunity to still have joy. You really don't want people that's gonna you don't want nobody to feel sorry for you. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And it's like, and you're trying to coach yourself to be strong and take it and go through it. So it's I understand that
And
now.
inside the shun, I was a total wreck every day when I was
Yeah,
in the inside, total wreck. But they asked me about the smile, you asked me about the smile. It was God.
yeah, yeah. So after the transplant and everything was a success, and now you're on a journey to educate people and raise awareness and um all of that. I remember reading where you said, basically God gave you a second chance, and the question was, what am I going to do with it? And so now I see. And so for 10 years you guys have been doing the kidney walk, correct?
Correct.
And what led to that? What led to you say, what, we're going to do this walk? And I know you started the foundation and things like that. So for people to know how to support, how can someone get involved in your mission now that you've overcome this and you still walking around with that big old smile on your face and everything? How can people get involved in your mission to bring awareness and to help with the research for kidney disease?
Well, I'm gonna go back after my transplant. I really didn't, my only plan was to go back to work. You know,
Mm,
uh, go back to work just like a normal life. I got my kidney. I'm just gonna go back to work, but obviously he had another plan for me.
yeah.
And I was just sitting around one day, and I was saying, "How can I get back?" Because he left me here for a reason.
Mm,
And when I got the letter of a young man, he had accidentally got shot. He was 14. I received his kidney. Cause some people won't tell you, some people will, and that kind of messed me up. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, God, why did you leave me here? Why did you leave me here? And you took the young man. Then I realized that, hey, my mind can't go as far to understand what God was doing. All I know, He left me here for a purpose, And sometimes, Sean, you have, I'm not saying everybody, but sometimes after your transplant, you have anti-rejection medication.
Hmm.
And they can cause depression and anxiety. And I didn't know what was going on at the time. And I was like, I'm glad I got my kidney, but this right here, I was still having some problems.
Mm.
And I started meeting other people, and I was telling about my problem, the ones that have had a kidney transplant, and they were like, and I tell them what was going on with me, and they were like, "Oh, can you tell my family that I'm not crazy because you be in a different place.
Yeah.
You be sad, you be depressed, you don't know what's going on." So a lot of people say that I talk to on TikTok. Some people say they don't know if it worth it to getting a transplant because of some of the side effects.
Mm.
But I end up, I was sitting, I was really just trying to come up with something. I had my transplant in 2013 of August. So I spent 2014 just really thinking about it. 15, I said, well, it's time for me to put the pen to the paper now.
Mm.
What can I what can I do to give back? So the kidney walk came up. Of course, it was God. And what can we call it? And so my mother name was Roberta J. Ivy.
Mm.
So we name it in honor of her.
Yeah.
So um, I think I think that we need to be more aware, Deshaun, because disease are often known as a silent disease
Mm.
or a silent killer. So you might not know you have it until it's too late.
Yeah.
When they found out I was in the early stage of kidney disease, when my sister found out she was in kidney failure.
Mm.
You know, some people go to a doctor, some women said they thought they was pregnant. Sometimes you can work too much and you be thinking, well, I got to go to the doctor to get some vitamins because my energy low, flu symptoms, and just imagine they tell you, hey, your kidney done fail.
Mm.
You need dialysis today or tomorrow,
Yeah.
and that's what happened to my sister. So I'm trying to get more people on involved because this not a disease that it wasn't a well known disease as we were growing up.
Mm.
If you ask a lot of people in my neighborhood in Eastview or surrounding, and you ask them about kidney, they're gonna talk about my mom. Of course, we didn't have social media back then. I knew about 4 or 5 people was on dialysis, but it wasn't well known as it is now.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
as I look over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we have people joining our community every day, every day, and it's really getting out of hand. Until now, like me, I got a deceased donor. My sister has a deceased donor, but as of right now in the world, we can't afford to wait on a donor now. We need
Yeah.
a deceased donor. We're looking for living donors
Yeah.
because people are unalive every day waiting on the kidney. So we can't afford to wait on a
Yeah.
deceased donor anymore like it was back when I got mine.
Yeah. And I don't think people understand that you can still survive off of one kidney.
Yes.
That's one thing I do understand. And so by you saying that, that leads me to um my final question, and then I'll let you share whatever message you need to share. What is your message to anyone out there that is struggling or battling, number one, to go get tested because they've felt some symptoms, or they just found out that they have, that they have kidney disease, what would be your message to those people?
My first message would be to get a checkup. That's something that that's something that I didn't do in the past.
Mm,
Getting a checkup, I didn't go until I felt bad. You know, that's the only reason that I went. So what I'm trying to do now, Deshaun, is if you get a checkup, you know, once a month, 3 months, a year, if something going on, maybe they can find and fix it. Don't be made to go. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like now, when I go to a doctor for checkup and stuff, I have to keep a checkup. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to get people to do is they if something's going on, maybe they can check it. Like I said, it's a silent disease. You may not know you have it until
mhm,
too late. And the thing about it, Deshaun, that like I said, kidney disease is not popular like cancer. You can ask a person, they can name growing up or right now they can name different people. They can name different people that died of cancer, had cancer thing, but you can't do that with kidney disease because we don't have many in each family that so a
mhm,
lot of people really not interested in what I'm talking about. But this disease is taking over, especially our community. It's taking over. So the biggest thing for me is getting a checkup. That's the biggest thing that I know I sound like a broken record a lot of time on
mhm.
social media, and I got to keep doing what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
listen at your doctor. They there for a reason. And I tell a lot of people too, Deshaun, don't just go to a doctor and let them read off the chart. Ask questions because I find out that we're in charge of our own health.
Mm,
That's what the doctor there for. They for to ask questions. They got many patients, because a lot of time in our kidney community, we blame the doctors. They didn't do this, they didn't do that. Well, we had to take pride in our own self, and we had to go in there and ask questions. It's not going. What's we need to learn our levels. We need to know what the levels are on our kidney. You know what I'm saying? On our how our heart doing. Don't just go in there blind and doctor said, "Well, you okay?" Still ask questions and learn to read your chart.
yeah. Well, good deal. So this has been a joy for me, um, Robert, and we've been talking about this for a while,
Yeah,
and I'm just glad it's finally able to happen. And so my message to anyone out there who gets a chance to sit down and watch or listen to this podcast here, do as Robert said, man. Take your health seriously. Your health is in your control. Go get your checkups. Listen to what the doctors are saying. If you're having to be on medicine, take the medicine. If you got to be on a special diet, be on a special diet because the world needs you and the world needs the gifts that God has placed inside of you. So
right.
let's not allow, you know, the the darkness of this world to rob us of the opportunity to just live life to the fullest and enjoy the gifts that God has given us. So again, like I said, I'm a firm believer that every smile tells a story. You know what I'm saying? And behind every smile, there is a story. So thanks again for tuning in. And Mr. Robert, I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
And
it.
I man, I'm just so again, just so happy that we were able to do this. So
I
thank
appreciate
you for being a part of this, man. And we will talk again with you soon.
it. Okay, thank you, Sean.
All righty. See ya.